Good morning, everyone. It's 1:40 a.m. So not exactly the best time for the presentation, but here we are. So we're going to start it quick. So we have joined here for one of the projects that has been given to us, which was, of course, hypothetically, if we were working for one of the Canadian cell phone company, or let's say if we were the founder of a cell phone company, and we had to analyze and basically penetrate inside a country where we think that the 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 profit would be huge and our phone and our organization would be acceptable to the people in those particular countries. What would we be choosing and based on what exactly? And we were given the options for the Russia and USA rivals, right? So yeah, makes a lot of sense. What you have to choose. So yeah, that's what my introduction says. That obviously that we as a team we went through a lot of materials, a lot of assignments, and we have then deduced which country would be good for us in order to continue. And with that, the major and the sort of the most important thing that comes up whenever you are thinking about anything, even if you're deciding to just roam around in a particular country, just fly out for a holiday, you think what would be the culture, right? So because culture actually it defines a country, it defines how things are and how things would perform if, let's say, uh, a new political party or a new company or a new delicacy or a new festival is introduced, right? So how the people would actually react. So talking about when you talk about Russia and USA, these two countries are extremely different. Like the people, their thinking, the whole thought process, the business, how it is done, the hierarchy that they follow, the language they speak, the gestures, expressions, everything is extremely different. So, I mean, given the chance that if I had to open up one of the phone companies, it would be very difficult for me to actually analyze, to be very frank. But yeah, um, it obviously the cultures will be a defining moment, but then the business culture matters a lot as well, because we always have heard about Russians, the oligarchs, the big people and the top of the food chain who control the business. It is very important for any company who is actually trying to enter the market to have a great relationship with those people if they want to survive, thrive, and make some money doing so. So yeah, it is very important. But in the USA, I mean, obviously there is always someone who's on the top of the food chain, but there's nothing so official about it. Things happens, but they probably are happening in the background, so people don't know about it. And that is how actually things move there, to be very frank. Um, so yeah, when we were thinking about it, we always thought that how it would be how viable it would be to open up a business in either USA or in Russia. And then you need to look at the numbers, right? So obviously, when I was trying to research, I found the taxes that you pay is almost equal both in USA and in Russia. But obviously, in just the taxes are not the only expenses that a company has to bear, right? It's the you know when you are making a company, you need to hire people and you need to pay their salaries. So when you talk about that, the minimum wage in Russia is very low compared to USA. So which is one of the reasons, like big in the beginning of 90s, so many car manufacturers, the big manufacturers in USA, the Ford, GM, and Fiat Chrysler Group, they all set up their factories in Mexico and other places because it became so damn difficult and so expensive to operate the businesses, right? So you need to think about all those aspects when you are actually opening up any of the businesses there. So, and each and every penny counts, and this is going to hit or make your profit. So we have to be thinking in that way. Moving on to the next slide. This Hosted framework is something companies do get in deep when they are actually looking to open up a business in any of the countries or any of the states or region for that matter, not just countries. Countries are like they're not there. There are a lot many local or regional or state-based companies compared to multinational companies, right? But everyone follows this particular thing. So, as I had mentioned before, the Russia tends to follow a lot of hierarchy rules, as I mentioned about the oligarchs. It's very popular. Of course, when I was growing up, I have heard and I've seen few of them and I met few of them. They are the force within, and you need to have a good rapport with them if you want to operate the business on their grounds. Um, USA, I believe, people are more into the equality, the freedom, as they say, land of the free, home of the brave. So probably that follows a bit. And Russia, of course, has their family first attitude, which is good, to be very frank, if you ask me. Moving on to the next slide, managing the project. Obviously, it will be very different, again, as I had mentioned before. More so with the current situation in Russia after the war, of course, things have changed a lot. We have a lot of sanctions that has been put. If you guys would have seen the YYZ airport, there is a aircraft that has been there, the big Antonov, which is there for a very long time since the war has started, because they could not move that plane because there are so many restrictions now. And when you think about it, obviously it is it will be very difficult for anyone to start a business there because of all these things. But you know, as they say, everything happens in the background. There are still ways to do the business there, and I think because there are so many restrictions, it might be a bit easier to do so. So it's one of those things. Obviously, in USA, there won't be any issues with the sanctions, but you will have a lot more competition with Google, the Apple, and so many of them, right? There are so many established companies like who are doing well. Obviously, the Samsung is there, so it will be a huge gamble if you ask me to start up a business there. Um, yeah. So a little conclusion of mine is that um, this is, to be very frank, I would have said in the last of the slides, but personally, because I made the slide, um, like personally for me, I really feel that it is much better for me to do the business in Russia, more so for the because of the fact that Russia is such a huge country. There are a lot of places where people have less means, less financial stability, where if you launch the phone at a very good price, uh, you know, the people there, they would be very much accommodating and will be taking this really nicely. And yes, the situation is bad in Russia, but if this it is bad, obviously things are going to be cheap. I could pump in more money and make more when things get better, which obviously will be. Russia is one of the most powerful nation in the whole world, so it has to get better. USA, obviously, I know that they are very slow to change when it comes to telecom. I know people who are using one brand and they have been using it for many, many years now. So yeah, and obviously with the higher operating cost, it might not be so good to start a business there. And that's all for me for now. Moving on to the next slide. Uh, we are right now. Who is doing it now? Sorry, guys.
I think the next one will be mine regarding the legal, political, and economic system of the USA and Russia. but due to
Yes.
some technical glitch, I wouldn't be able to shift my slides. If anyone can do for me, I will be very highly obliged to them.
Yes, I'm going to do it for you. Just a moment. Right. Can you see it?
For sharing the screen. So I'm Jasleen Dua, and I will explain the legal system, political and economic system of both the countries. Actually, they both have certain kinds of similarities as well as dissimilarities in all these three systems. Firstly, I will discuss the things that is present in USA. Like USA has such kind of legal system that there is a federal system. There is a federal kind of system over the USA, and in Russia also the same kind of system prevails actually. And certain kinds of federal laws are available in USA. For example, related to immigration, defense, that goes to the central level. And in the state laws, there are family property laws that comes under the state category. And there is a rule of a law, means to say that there is a no kind of discrimination between the people. Everyone is similar in the eyes of the law, and equal protection for every person, either they are a layman or either they are an authoritative man. They all get the same kind of protection in USA. Whereas in Russia, federal laws are also there, but in those laws, not an immigration comes over there. The civil rights come into there, defense comes into that, and in spite of state laws, there are the regional laws over in Russia. Similar like USA, there is also a rule of law. That law is at the higher position. It has a complete command or authority to charge anything or according to the crime or anything on the persons. There are the protection of the human rights, and apart from that there is a judicial independence, which means that any person can avail the judicial help at any time, and it's free of cost, in fact. Next one is the political system. Please, Utkarsh, can you share the screen?
Here you
I
go.
have, can I have the another slide? Thank you. That's a political system. USA actually has a three kinds of branches, and with the which comes under the separation of the powers. That is executive branch, legislative branch, and judicial branch. That's the executive branch is headed by the president of the USA, into which the person has to control the defense affairs. Second one is legislative branch, into which the two houses came. Like if in India also, when we talk about the Rajya and Lok Sabha, there are two houses, and in the USA, under legislative branch, where they have to make the laws, where they have to pass the bills, there is a Senate and the House of Representative, like us. And the third one is judicial branch, under which the laws which have been implemented by the legislative branch, they are used by the judiciary actually for the people. And it includes supreme as well as lower federal courts which are used by the people. And in Russia, there is a bicameral legislature actually, which means that the two houses are there. That Duma is a lower house, and the another one is a Federation Council. The second thing that is included in the political system of the Russia is that it has an independent judiciary. I have talked about this in the previous slide also. And here the major thing, this is held by the president, and the role of the president is that he's a chief executive, he's a commander in chief, and he only appointed the PM in Russia. Political parties, if we consider there in Russia, then we can see that there are United Russia. There is a Communist Party and the Liberal Democratic Party could be seen over here. So such kind of political system exists in both of the states. Next slide, please. So the third one is I will talk about the economic system. That is a very major thing that exists into the every kind of business, or to do any kind of business, it's very important to consider the economy system of that particular country. And if we see for the USA, there is a capitalistic economy. Capitalistic economy is such kind of economy where profit orientation is considered, where the classes are there. There are two classes: owners and the other one who gives their labor actually. And the another thing which prevails in the economic system of this USA is that there is a decentralized decision making. Means to say that there is not a single centralization where all the decisions are to be made, but the decision should be made in the category wise. So less government intervention is there on the markets. There is a fiscal policy, and the major key economy sectors in the USA are the finance, automotive, and the technology, under which the actually the things are the booming. And in Russia, the transition from centrally planned to market oriented system, because when we go at the very back era, we can see that at that time there was a centrally planned market, but with the time, with the passage of time, it becomes a very oriented system. Now it has become a very oriented system where the private ownership has gained the popular, become very popular, and gain a very special space in the Russia. It also follows the same fiscal policy like USA, and the major economic sectors which exist in Russia are that's energy, mining, technology, military, and aerospace. And these are the major sectors where Russia is doing very good job and a very well job. Thank you. Next slides will be continued by my other partners.
Thank you, Jasleen. Thank you, Utkarsh. So, I would like to talk about government's crucial role in shaping the trade. I would briefly describe about the United States. I mean, briefly describe and differentiate between the United States and Russia. While coming to the United States, um, one moment, guys. While coming to the United States, the if we discuss about the market and the potential, the United States is one of the largest cell phone markets globally, and it has a diverse customer base with a high demand for the innovative and also advanced products. While in Russia, it has a sizable market for the mobile phones, but economic factors may be influenced with the purchasing power. If we could talk about the economic factors in the USA, we could consider some economic conditions and purchasing power of the population, and by evaluating the potential prices based on the competitive uh, field. And while coming to the Russia, we could consider some of the economic conditions, potential currency fluctuations, and disposable income. And we could also consider the pricing strategies should align with the economic thing of the Russian market. While coming to this regulatory environment, we need to be familiarized with the Federal Communication Commission's regulations for the cell phones, and we need to ensure that the cell phone complies with any specific standard set by the regulatory bodies. While it is in the Russia, we need to understand and comply with the regulatory requirements set by the Russian authorities. And we should also be familiarized with the certification process of the electronic devices. And one moment, guys. I would like to add some of the key points as well. If we could see in the customer and cultural behavior, we know what people want, how different cultures work, and what living trends are popular. But when it comes to Russia, we need to be aware of and also adjust to the differences in the customer behavior. If it comes to the channels of distribution, we need to figure out the best ways to get our product to a lot of people, and we need to work with well-known stores or carriers to get our product to be seen to by more people. While in Russia, we need to figure out the best ways to get our product to the people in Russia, like taking into the account of huge size, as we all know. Uh, while the relationships with the trade, um, because of strong economic links between the US, Canada, trade relations may be good, which could make the export process easier. While in the Russia, it is important to know how to go through customs and follow trade rules. Can I have next slide, please? If we could discuss about how will currency issues be managed, I would like to start with USA on the international capital market, like let's say if you're, which includes expanding money, like leveraging international capital markets for funding, and we need to also have access to diverse funding sources to expand the operations. While coming to Russia, investigating the accessibility of international capital markets in the Russia is necessary, and also adapting funding strategies based on the Russian market dynamics. If we could talk about the cost reduction, we need to utilize the international capital to potentially reduce the cost and also increase the money supply to force the borrowing cost. While in Russia, we need to consider the borrowing cost and also adapting the financial plans for the Russian market. And I would like to add a few more points as well. One moment. So I would like to also describe how there's a change of a currency in the USA. So we should basically keep an eye on the USD, which is a base currency in the exchange rate. And while coming to the Russia, however, Russian ruble, like RUB, fits in with the US dollar and the Canadian dollar. So when the USD and CAD exchange rate changes, export prices will also change. But in Russia, changing the pricing tactics based on their RUB exchange rate. So, if we could talk about some strategies, I would say currency trading is being used to protect against possible exchange rates. And while coming to the Russia, there are some techniques that are being used to protect against bad changes in the exchange rate. So, that is all I would like to say. And I would like to pass on this to the next person.
Thank you, Pratyusha. Well, coming to the entry modes, first to determine the entry mode that will be used in both countries, that is USA and Russia, we need to research the market. First, we need to do the market analysis, examining the demand for cell phones in both countries, trends in consumer preferences, and what are requirements and the demand in the market should be noted. And looking for the resources that are available for the various operations like exploration of infrastructure and also logical support, and estimating the demand for the product in the market and getting an overview of the business environment in both the countries, that is USA and Russia, and also the analysis of culture and economy. Well, considering and examining the differences between the Russia and USA in terms of politics, cultures, law, and also the economy, and also meeting the standards that are set by the government, and also thinking about the various outcomes, like while selecting a market, and also the selection of a location where the company should be operate, and also consideration of factors like tax, incentives, labor pool, and also the strategic advantages. Next slide, please. Uh, while coming to the entry modes, the suitable entry mode for the USA is direct exporting. In this, the cell phones will be directly sold to the customers without any help of the brokers, without any aid. Uh, Apart from the direct exporting, licensing and franchising also are the other modes that are suitable. Uh, Let me explain about the licensing. Licensing is nothing but giving up a foreign organization permission to utilize a particular piece of property, such as it would be a trademark. Mm, but in our case, we have mobile phones. So a licensing agreement could be a foreign business use a brand or a private technology so they can produce or sell cell phones when while the licensor keeps ownership of its property. And franchising is nothing but we can say business strategy in which owner of the franchise grants permission to a franchise to run a company under its name by giving its name and set a business plan and infrastructure for support also. And when it comes to mobile phones, if franchise might run a uh, retail location under the franchises names and benefit from the existing company structure. And for this I can provide an example. The best example would be the McDonald's. And coming to the Russia, the best suitable type of entry mode would be the indirect exporting. It is quite opposite from the direct exporting. In this, the cell phones are sold to brokers who then resell to the customers. Another entry mode for Russia should be the joint venture. A joint venture is nothing but an agreement in which uh, two or more companies work together to combine their resources and also their knowledge, to form a newly shared company or a newly shared organization. The best example would for this joint venture is the Ericsson and Sony Corporation, known as Sony Ericsson. Uh, and the next slide would be explained by Shweta. Thank you.
Uh, Thank you, Amir. So, understanding the cultural, economic, and social variations across these two countries is essential when marketing a product or service. So, these two countries have different marketplaces and they have different characteristics. So, some of the bases are like while selling a product or service in these two countries are on the basis of culture adaptation. In the American culture, the distance while communicating comprises 1 to 1.5 meter, while in the Russia, culture such as a distance is considered as a sign of disrespect. So during the communication, Russians often try to cut the distance as much as possible. Sometimes they even try to eliminate it at all. Marketing in Russia needs a strong culture adaptation. The basis of culture is different from the Western culture. So, collectivism in Russia takes the place of competition in the Western countries. A strong communal spirit is still reflected in Russian business practices. On the basis of digital and traditional mix, the power of internet in the US is limitless and dissimilar to other forms of media, website has the potential to reach anyone with online access. The internet transcends countries and continents, meaning market restriction is not the problem. It is in the other forms of publicity. Utkarsh, yeah. So traditional advertising media is well established in Russia and in particular for consumer goods, television, print media, outdoor billboards, magazines, and for the free sample, traditional advertising is used. Person to person direct marketing also works well in Russia. On the basis of local partnerships, in USA, They build partnership with American influencers and businesses to enhance brand credibility and reach a broader audience. While in Russia, they collaborate with local influencers or businesses to navigate the Russian market and gain trust from the local audience. On the basis of consumer behavior in USA, they often prioritize individual benefits and personal gains when making purchases decisions. They focus on messages to make the messages and how the product or service directly enhances the individual's life. They emphasize on individual benefits. People tailor messages to showcase how the product adds value to the individual lifestyles, making it a distinct and worthwhile choice. While in Russia, they focus on collectivism. They prioritize social harmony and maintain strong relationships within their communities and families. So they market messages and they focus on how the product or service fosters positive social interactions and strengthen communal ties. Now, Utkarsh will conclude this all.
Thank you, everyone, for the lovely presentation and all the information that has been provided, which is extremely relevant in terms of this particular project. Yes, but in every single other project that we could be given, especially when it comes to setting up a business. As I had mentioned previously, I had concluded it that me personally, as a team leader or as a owner of a company or operational manager, it would be a no-brainer for me to go with Russia because of a little bit of ease in terms of getting the brand known. And yeah, there would be a lot of hiccups. There would be a lot of challenges that would come in the beginning. But once those challenges are over, uh, the whole sale is going to be extremely smooth compared to USA, where the sale in the beginning is going to be smooth, but there will always be a very cutthroat competition, and we'll basically be fighting for each and every dollar. And this is why I really feel that I would go with Russia, and I stand by it. So with that, I think it's time to end, and congratulations to all of you for reaching the very end of the semester. And I'm sure that we all enjoyed, especially with Miss Olga. And good night, everyone, and thank you so much for this.
Thank you.